So today I wanna show you how to make the best drink for my friend. And now...
Ciao! Che cazzo, bella questa macchina. Nuova?
Was filming with the ZV exposed in his pitch.
And yes, obviously, I'm in Italy, so we're making some pasta. I definitely don't know if I'm exposing anything properly. I'm using the histogram. Some people said use gamma assists. Others said use zebras and all that, and it seemed kind of complicated, not gonna lie. So I'm just gonna use the histogram for now, and let's see how this looks. Now I'm on the Sony FX3, and I'm using the wrong shutter speed because I ordered an ND filter adapter from Amazon and they sent the wrong size. So, but anyways, I'm shooting at 12,800 ISO. This is something I've never done intentionally. This is a dual native ISO camera, and with the R5, I pretty much was forced to shoot everything at 800, you know, to maximize the dynamic range and all that. Where the hell are my cards? So while I look at this beautiful footage that I shot earlier with the FX3, and I'll show you some of it, let's talk a little bit why I switched to Sony. So actually, I used to shoot with the Sony A7S II back in 2017 or so, 2018. And then I switched to the GH5 because I wanted those higher frame rates. And then from the GH5, I went to the Canon EOS R because I wanted that full frame. The autofocus is when I start to take, you know, my YouTube channel a bit more seriously, you know, filming myself. So autofocus, which by the way is ridiculously fast on this camera. That's crazy. So I went to the EOS R, but then, you know, pretty much topped out at 1080p, which was fine, but you know, shooting all my content at 1080p, which is not ideal. Then I went to the Canon R6, which was awesome, 4K up to 60 frames per second, which looked really good. Colors were a bit weird. It looked a bit like Sony's older colors. So then in time, I switched to the Canon R5, fell in love with the 4K 120, and never really looked back since. And I've had that camera for 2.5, 3 years with the R5, and I got the RF 15-35, 24-70, 2.8, and it was great. I loved that setup. But as I started to look more at what I was doing as a content creator for, you know, person like this and for brands, most of the things I was doing was video related. I was shooting a lot of video. And so the R5 is a great hybrid camera, great video, amazing photos. So, but it really is mainly a stills camera. You know, the 45 megapixel sensor kind of hinders the video performance more so than helps it, since I didn't really shoot anything in 8K. So what that yielded was a camera that wasn't really great in low light, as well as it had pretty limited dynamic range, probably because Canon didn't want to give it to us. But yeah, only C-Log3, which is a lot less flat than S-Log3 here in the Sony. But you know, we were hoping that they would give C-Log2 to the R5, but no, they didn't. They did it with the R5 Mark II. It's about time. It feels like Canon is finally catching up. And yeah, so as a video creating tool, which is what I do for the most part on a professional level, the R5 is not the best camera. It's great for photos and videos, not just videos. That also paired with the fact that the lens choices are quite limited. I know they're saying that I think Sigma is allowed to make RF lenses now, so they'll be coming out with them soon. But Sony has so many Sigma, Tamron, Sony, Broken On, Sam, you name it. So many other brands that make lenses for the Sony system, and they've been out for so many years that the used market is full, and just the variety of lenses you can get are just so amazing. Not to mention, they're so much smaller and lighter than the RF lenses. Something that definitely held me back when shooting with the R5 was the fact that the 15-35, which is more like my vlog or filming myself lens, was so big and heavy and expensive paired with the R5, which was already, what the hell? Lights changing colors here. Hopefully it doesn't screw up my white balance. But yeah, paired with the R5's build, which is already super massive and heavy, just made it really difficult to actually even want to shoot, especially outside. I'm always in cities here in Europe, and you know, just having that big heavy setup, it makes it harder to make quick videos like this because I can't just put the camera anywhere. Holding it out like this was very, very heavy. Right now I have the FX3 with a Sigma 16-20 8mm f2.8, and it's super sharp, fast, amazing autofocus speeds, and it's so small and lightweight. Like, this is inviting to actually shoot with. The R5 was not. What I'm talking about, this is the setup, and literally I can hold this out so comfortably. It's so small and lightweight, and you get a sick image in this package, and I think it's just phenomenal. I think this is how it should feel when you're filming yourself, making personal content. This is so much lighter and easier to operate than the R5. And for me, that's something that's really important because I do want to make more YouTube videos, more personal content, and the R5 being my work camera really struggled to also be my content creation camera. Another thing that feels kind of weird to even talk about with the Canon is over time, I feel like the autofocus got worse, especially when I shot at 4K 120. That is the setting I use most in terms of work, professional work. A lot of my style is slow motion video. I don't know what it was, but it's really struggled grabbing focus and locking on. You would tap a subject and it would lock and then immediately jump off or jump to something else. And it just became really unreliable, which is crazy because when I just got the camera, the first years, it performed flawlessly. I mean, it was Canon's dual pixel autofocus that everyone talks about and raves about, and it just kind of lost its stickiness. Where with this camera, I mean, this thing, I have yet to really shoot a lot of slow motion. I did shoot my girlfriend here at 4K 100 frames per second since I'm in Europe, and it locked on and it stuck beautifully. And I was using, look what lens I was using. Talking about size, I'm using the Sony 50mm 1.8, the Nifty 50. This thing is super small, lightweight, super sharp, and really good autofocus. So I'll be talking about this probably in the next few videos because I highly recommend it. Like paired with the FX3, such a small setup that just gives you ridiculously good results. Now you might be wondering, in terms of photography, what am I gonna do? With the FX3 here, it does take 12 megapixel photos, which isn't super high. It's definitely not a photo camera, so I still plan on getting another body, probably from Sony. I'm thinking the A7R Mark III, so an older one that's been out, I think, since 2019, but realistically just for photography. It does a full frame sensor, I think 42 megapixels, so high like the R5, and I can obviously use all the same lenses, and it's sold really cheap. I've seen them for under $1,000 for a camera that is industry leading in terms of image quality, especially because in terms of photography, cameras have not changed that much throughout the past year. Yeah, they have maybe a slight more dynamic range, maybe, but shooting raw files anyways, even some really old DSLRs can compete with today's cameras in terms of photography. A lot of the innovation has gone to super smart AI autofocus, apparently, which we never really needed before, but I guess it could be good for sports photographers and that, and video. Video's really been the focus as it is the language of the day. But if I were to talk a little bit about what I would be losing with this switch, one thing is the really strong IBIS in the R5. The R5's IBIS was a little bit too strong actually in some cases. When you're shooting ultra wide, it would cause the crazy wobble effect, but this is definitely not as strong, which means handheld footage is going to be a bit more difficult. Not more difficult, I just have to be more cautious, but at the same time I feel like it'll look more natural because the R5's wobble was often quite distracting, and I've gotten plenty of comments reminding me. It's also really nice to be able to shoot with SD cards. I have the ProGrade UHS2 128 gigabyte card, the V90s. Those are great, not expensive. SD cards are just so much easier to find, and it allows me to shoot 4K 100 frames per second with the codec that I would use anyway. So it's perfectly great for me. Plus I can record to dual cards. The R5 didn't let me do that, and this FX3 has a lot of features that really make video shooting awesome. Tally lights, the fact that you have 1, 2, 3, and the screen in terms of tally lights means when you're filming, because it has happened to me when shooting with the R5 that I'd press record and I wasn't really sure, or sometimes it just wouldn't start recording. I know the camera super well, but it still happens to me and it's really annoying. Here it's very clear when you're recording from every single angle. Obviously you can turn the tally lights off, but I love it, and I love the fact that I just know when I'm recording. And I love the fact that one of the function buttons right here on the front is an actual record button. Dual native ISO, so I can shoot at ISO 800 and 12,800, which is what I'm doing right now, to get the maximized dynamic range in S-Log3, and that's sick. The dynamic range does look very, very impressive. I've pretty much just experimented slightly. I still need to figure out color grading and all that. Definitely eons ahead of C-Log3 that I had in the R5. What's funny is on Instagram, since I posted a story saying basically goodbye Canon, going to Sony, not in a hard feelings way, I still love Canon, they make amazing cameras. I'm not switching from Canon because their cameras are bad. I'm switching because I want more from my camera, let's just say. And a lot of people are saying, why did you switch to Sony, bro? You're kidding. I kind of tried to explain it the best I could in this video. As Mark Toya says, and I reference this a lot, speed and performance are the two things that give me that creative edge. And this is a lot faster than the R5. Some of the genius things that Sony thinks about is making the lens cap for their lenses like true gray, so that you can use this to calibrate your camera or white balance it in any lighting situation. Like this is the exact gray you need to scan, no matter the company, no matter the brand, to get the perfect white balance. Granted, I'm using auto white balance because I'm lazy and I need to figure out all the colors and all that, so whatever, but that's still really cool. Okay, so this video is kind of all over the place, and my shutter speed is going to be completely off because I ordered an ND filter adapter for this 72mm filter thread, and I got a 77mm adapter when I needed 72, and then I returned it on Amazon, and then I ordered it again, and then they sent me the exact same one. So I'm just kind of stuck with that ND filter for this video. Pretty view, right? Like, this is actually quite beautiful. Anyways, I was taking a look at the footage and it just looks great. The skin tones are beautiful. As I mentioned, I'm trying out the Phantom LUTs and they look great. A lot of tweaking still needs to be done, but I think my journey has just begun with this camera and I'm really excited to use it. Dynamic range is just something else. The colors, I can push them way more than I could with my Canon. I don't know if I was doing something wrong. There's just so much more information in S-Log3 than C-Log3, and it's not even close. Now, I did also take some pictures with it, and those were surprisingly good, honestly. I was really not expecting it. Definitely in low light, the pictures are great because it's only 12 megapixels, but they are plenty detailed if you are planning to do social media posts. I'd be a little bit more worried if I needed to print them or for web use or something a little bit larger, but for social media, more than good enough. 12 megapixels looks actually quite great, and the file sizes are much, much lighter. But anyways, this is pretty much going to be it for this video, guys. I have to finish off my season here in Sardinia, Italy, for Fi Beach. I'm going to be heading home in a couple of days. I'll have the ND filter adapter waiting for me there. I want to talk about the 50mm that I got for this camera, which is absolutely sick, as well as the 16-28 from Sigma, which has been a dream to use because it's so wide and light and just great for this vlog stuff. And it just makes me want to shoot so much more. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. If you're considering switching to Sony, I see why people do it. Anyways, see you guys in the next video, right? Peace. That was weird. See you guys in the next video.